The night Allison Moore discovered the signal was unusually quiet at the Arecibo Observatory. Most of her colleagues had gone home, leaving her alone with the steady hum of computers and the occasional ping of incoming data. She sipped her lukewarm coffee and stared at her monitor, not fully processing what she was seeing. The pattern repeated. It wasn't random noise. It wasn't a pulsar. It wasn't anything natural. "This can't be right," she whispered to herself, adjusting her glasses and leaning closer to the screen. Allison had worked at NASA for 12 years, scanning the skies for anomalies. She knew the difference between a glitch and a discovery. This was definitely the latter. Her hands trembled as she picked up the phone and called her supervisor. Within 48 hours, the observatory became the center of global attention. Government vehicles lined the normally empty parking lot. Officials in suits rushed in and out of buildings. Armed guards stood at every entrance. 6 weeks later, humanity had its answer. They were not alone. The message was simple, an invitation to join the Galactic Council, a federation of 27 alien species that had been watching Earth for centuries. President Olivia Franklin addressed the United Nations in an emergency session. "Today marks the beginning of a new chapter in human history," she said, her voice steady despite the enormity of the moment. "We must respond with a unified voice." The world governments agreed to form an international response team. They needed their best diplomat to represent Earth, someone who could navigate this new terrain with wisdom and caution. Jack Harlow was eating dinner with his wife when he received the call. At 52, he had spent his career resolving conflicts between nations that had hated each other for generations. Now he would need those skills on a much larger stage. "We need you in Washington tomorrow," said the voice on the phone. "Pack for an extended trip." What they didn't tell him was that extended meant leaving Earth entirely. The first alien delegation arrived 3 months later. Their ship, a sleek vessel that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it, landed in a specially prepared area in the Nevada desert. The aliens called themselves the Zentari. Their bodies were tall and slender with skin that shimmered like oil on water. Their 4 eyes blinked in alternating pairs as they studied the human delegation. "Your species has finally reached the minimum development threshold," said the Zentari ambassador through a translation device. "The Council extends an invitation of probationary membership." Jack stepped forward. "We're honored by your invitation. What does probationary membership entail?" The answer was not what anyone expected. Earth would be classified as a minor species. They would have limited voting rights. They would need to follow Council regulations on technology development, space exploration, and resource management. Major Steve Winters, the military advisor to the diplomatic team, pulled Jack aside during a break in the talks. "They're treating us like children," he whispered, careful to stay away from the translation devices. "We need to learn more before we make any decisions," Jack replied. "Let's see what this council really is." 1 week later, Jack and a small team of 12 humans boarded the Zentari ship bound for the massive space station called Harmony, where the Galactic Council convened. The journey took 17 days, during which the humans learned more about galactic politics. The council was dominated by 3 ancient species, the Zentari, the Mavulians, and the Draxos. They had been spacefaring for thousands of years longer than humans had been using fire. When they arrived at Harmony, Jack understood for the first time how small Earth truly was in the cosmic scale. The station was larger than Manhattan, a spinning marvel of engineering that housed representatives from dozens of worlds. Council Ambassador Clothor, a Mavulian with 6 limbs and a booming voice, welcomed them to the central chamber. "Humans of Earth," he announced to the gathered representatives, "the newest probationary species to join our grand alliance." Jack noticed how the other species reacted to their arrival. Some with curiosity, others with dismissal, and a few with what looked like pity. He leaned toward Lisa Grant, Earth's chief negotiator. "I think we have a lot to learn about how things really work here." Lisa nodded, her eyes taking in the magnificent chamber and the alien delegates. and I have a feeling they're not telling us everything. The Harmony station buzzed with activity as Jack Harlow and his team settled into their assigned quarters. Everything about the place felt slightly wrong. The gravity was a bit lighter than Earth's. The air carried unfamiliar scents, and even the lighting had a blue tint that made human skin look sickly. "These will be your living spaces during negotiations," said the Zentari guide, gesturing to a row of small, pod-like rooms. "The Council has adapted them for human biology." Lisa Grant ran her hand along the strange material of the wall. "What is this made of?" "Living polymer," the guide replied. "It responds to temperature and repairs itself." Jack noticed how the alien's 4 eyes never blinked at the same time. It made him uneasy, though he worked hard not to show it. The next morning, Council Ambassador Clothor summoned the human delegation to the Chamber of Terms. 7 representatives from the dominant species sat at elevated desks, while Jack and his team were positioned below in the center of the room. "Earth's probationary status requires certain commitments," Clothor began, his 6 limbs moving in complex patterns that seemed to emphasize his words. "These are standard for all minor species." A holographic display appeared in the air before them, showing a list of demands. Major Steve Winters read through them quickly, his face darkening. "This isn't fair," he whispered to Jack. The terms were steep. Earth must surrender 30% of its natural resources for Council use. Humans must limit their military capabilities and dismantle certain weapon systems. All new human technology must be approved by Council inspectors before development. These terms ensure the safety and stability of galactic civilization, Clothor explained. All current Council members have agreed to similar conditions. Jack maintained his diplomatic smile. "We'll need time to review these terms with our government." During a recess, Lisa Grant disappeared for several hours. She returned to their quarters with worried eyes. "I met some representatives from other minor species," she told Jack and Steve in a hushed voice. "The Neveri have been probationary for 300 years. The Lutheni for over 500. Steve leaned forward. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying nobody gets promoted from minor status. It's a permanent arrangement." Jack paced the small room. "What else did you learn?" "The 3 dominant species, the Zentari, Mevulians, and Draxos, they take the resources from minor worlds and give little in return. The Neveri representative showed me their mining colony. It's been stripped bare." For 2 weeks, the human delegation toured Harmony, meeting other species and learning about Council operations. Everywhere they went, they saw the same pattern. Minor species serving the needs of the dominant 3, receiving technology and protection, but losing their independence. When they returned to Earth, the debate began. President Franklin called an emergency session with world leaders to discuss the Council's terms. "We cannot agree to these demands," said the Chinese representative. "They want too much." "But think of the technology we would gain," argued the European Union ambassador. "Faster than light travel, advanced medicine, clean energy." "At what cost?" Jack asked, addressing the assembled leaders. "We would be surrendering our future." The debate raged for days. News channels ran constant coverage. People marched in streets around the world, some welcoming alien contact, others protesting against submission. In her office at the White House, President Olivia Franklin stared out the window at the demonstrators beyond the fence. The decision rested heavily on her shoulders. "If we refuse, what happens?" she asked Jack, who stood nearby. "They didn't explicitly threaten us," he replied. "But from what we've seen, they could simply take what they want." The president turned from the window. "And if we accept? We get a seat at the table, but it's at the kids' table. We might gain some technology, but we lose control of our destiny." After a month of global consultation, President Franklin made her decision. In a televised address watched by billions, she announced that Earth would accept probationary status in the Galactic Council. "We enter this new era with caution and hope," she said. "We will learn from advanced civilizations while protecting humanity's unique spirit." Not everyone agreed. Major Steve Winters requested reassignment after the announcement. Before leaving, he shared a final thought with Jack. "They think we're weak," he said. "Someday they'll learn otherwise." 5 years passed since Earth joined the Galactic Council. Things had changed. Council ships now regularly visited Earth. Alien technology had improved some aspects of human life. Medical advances helped cure several diseases. New energy systems reduced pollution in major cities. But there were costs. Council mining operations dug deep into Earth's crust, extracting rare minerals and shipping them to distant worlds. Humans had little say in Council decisions. Their single vote was easily overruled by the dominant species. Dr. Ethan Wright led Earth's science delegation on Harmony Station. His team studied alien technologies, hoping to learn their secrets. One day, while working on a complex mathematical problem, Ethan solved it using an approach no alien had considered. The Zintari scientist observing him froze, all 4 eyes widening. "How did you do that?" the alien asked. Ethan shrugged. "I just saw a pattern. It seemed obvious." The Zintari left quickly. Later that day, more aliens came to watch Ethan work. They gave him increasingly difficult problems. He solved them all using intuitive leaps that shocked the observers. Soon, other human scientists were tested too. They all showed the same ability. Humans could see solutions that alien supercomputers missed. They could make mental connections that other species couldn't follow. Word spread through the council. Humans had something unique. They possessed a kind of mental flexibility that none of the other 27 species had. Where aliens followed logical paths, humans jumped across gaps with intuition and creativity. On Earth, engineer Kate Bishop worked in her garage on weekends. She wasn't part of any official program. She simply enjoyed tinkering with the new alien concepts she learned about at her day job with a technology company. One Saturday, she created something unexpected. An energy conversion system that was 40% more efficient than the council standard. When she showed it to her supervisor on Monday, the news traveled fast. Within a week, council representatives arrived to examine her invention. They were not pleased. "This violates technology sharing protocols," said the Draxos inspector, his scaled skin flushing dark orange with agitation. "Humans must submit designs for approval before development." Kate stood her ground. "I didn't know I was doing anything wrong. I was just playing around with ideas." The council officials confiscated her prototype and notes. They installed monitoring equipment in research facilities around Earth. New restrictions limited what human scientists could study. Dr. Wright called an emergency meeting with Jack Harlow, now Earth's permanent ambassador to the council. "They're afraid of us," Ethan explained, keeping his voice low even in Jack's secure office. "Not our weapons or our ships. Those are primitive by their standards. They're afraid of our minds." Jack frowned. "What have you discovered?" "Humans can make intuitive leaps that their species evolved without. Their logical, linear thinking served them well for thousands of years, but they hit a ceiling. We approach problems differently." "Is that why they're restricting our research?" "Yes, and it gets worse. I've seen their projections. At our current rate of innovation, even with their head start, we would catch up to council technology in less than 300 years. That terrifies them." This revelation changed everything. What had seemed like benevolent guidance from advanced civilizations now looked like deliberate suppression. In a secret facility beneath the Rocky Mountains, Navy Commander Alan Pierce received approval for a new program. President Franklin, now in her second term, personally signed the authorization. "Develop whatever you can outside their monitoring," she told him. "We need options." Alan assembled a team of brilliant minds who had shown exceptional creativity. They worked with what alien technology they had already acquired, but approached it with human intuition. Kate Bishop was among the first recruits. "We're not building weapons," Alan explained to his team. "We're creating possibilities." For the next 2 years, they worked in secret, developing technologies that blended alien concepts with human insights. Energy systems, defensive shields, communication methods that the Council had never imagined. Meanwhile, on Harmony Station, the dominant Council species held private meetings about the human problem. The Zentari representative spoke for many when he said, "They must be controlled more tightly. Their potential is too dangerous." Little did they know that humanity was already slipping from their grasp. The council chamber fell silent as Clothor slammed his upper limbs against the speaking podium. His voice boomed through the vast space. "The human question requires immediate action," he declared. "Their rate of advancement threatens council stability." Representatives from the 27 member species shifted uncomfortably. The 3 dominant species had called this emergency session without much explanation. "What exactly are the humans doing wrong?" asked the representative from Navari, a minor species that had formed a friendly relationship with Earth. The Zentari elder rose, her shimmering skin catching the light. "They are developing technologies without supervision. They are communicating with other minor species outside official channels. They are questioning the natural order." Jack Harlow sat in the human section, carefully keeping his face neutral despite his rising anger. After 7 years as Earth's ambassador, he had learned to hide his emotions from alien observers. When the council meeting ended, Jack was summoned to a private chamber. There, the leaders of the 3 dominant species waited. "Ambassador Harlow," Clothor began, "the council has decided that stronger oversight of human activities is required." "What kind of oversight?" Jack asked, though he already suspected the answer. "Council inspectors must have full access to all human research facilities. Key scientists, including Dr. Wright, must submit to neural monitoring. All communication between Earth and other worlds must pass through council filters." Jack maintained his diplomat's smile. "These seem like extreme measures for a probationary member that has followed council regulations." "Not all regulations," hissed the Draxos representative. "We know about your secret facility in the mountains." Jack felt a chill run through him, but didn't let it show. "I'll need to discuss these terms with my government." Back on Earth, President Franklin called an emergency meeting with her Security Council. General Patricia Ramirez, who had replaced the retired Steve Winters as military advisor, presented the latest intelligence. "The Council has moved 3 enforcement vessels into our solar system," she reported, pointing to the holographic display. "They're positioning for orbital coverage of major cities." "They're threatening us," said Lisa Grant, now Secretary of State. "They know about Commander Pierce's project." President Franklin looked around the table. "What's our status, Commander?" Alan Pierce straightened in his chair. "My team has made significant progress. The defense grid is operational, though not at full capacity. Kate Bishop's energy systems are ready. We have surprises they don't know about." "But can we stand against their full military might?" asked the president. General Ramirez shook her head. "Not directly. They have thousands of years of technological advantage. But we don't need to win a war. We just need to make it too costly for them to force their will on us." Jack Harlow's face appeared on the communication screen from Harmony Station. "Madam President, they're demanding an answer within 48 hours. If we refuse, they're threatening sanctions, possibly military action." President Franklin stood up and walked to the window of the Oval Office. Outside, people went about their daily lives, unaware of the crisis unfolding above their heads. 7 years ago, we accepted their terms because we thought we had no choice, she said quietly. We've learned a lot since then. About them. About ourselves. She turned back to face her advisors. I will not agree to neural monitoring of our citizens. That crosses a line. Then we need to prepare for their response, said General Ramirez. Activate Commander Pierce's defense grid, ordered the President. Position our fleet. Alert our allies among the minor species. As Jack Harlow received the President's decision, he felt a strange mixture of fear and pride. Humanity was about to stand up to the bullies of the galaxy. The next day, the Zentari representative handed Jack an ultimatum. Your species has 24 hours to comply or face consequences, she said coldly. Jack took the data pad containing the Council's demands and nodded politely. I understand perfectly. In the mountain facility, Kate Bishop worked frantically to boost the output of the planetary shield generators. If they attack, we'll only get one chance at this, she told her team. Across Earth, people looked up at the night sky, unaware that their planet stood at the brink of a galactic confrontation. The Grand Council chamber was packed with representatives from all 27 species. News of the human ultimatum had spread quickly through Harmony Station. Everyone wanted to see how the confrontation would end. Jack Harlow entered the chamber wearing a simple blue suit. He carried no data pad, no notes. He walked to the center of the speaking floor and waited as the chamber quieted. The people of Earth have carefully considered the Council's demands, Jack began, his voice steady and clear. We have a response. Clothor leaned forward, his 6 limbs arranged in the formal posture of authority. Proceed, Ambassador Harlow. 7 years ago, we joined this council with hope. We believed we were entering a community of equals. We were wrong. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. The Zentari representative signaled for silence, but Jack continued before she could speak. Earth rejects the Council's demands for neural monitoring. We reject your claim to our resources. We reject your limitations on our development. This is not acceptable, Clothor interrupted, his voice booming. The consequences will not be what you expect, Jack finished for him. At this moment, Earth is activating a planetary defense system beyond your understanding. We have shared this technology with 9 other minor species who have suffered under your rule. On the main view screen, images appeared showing Earth surrounded by a faint blue field. Similar fields flickered into existence around other worlds, the homes of species that had allied with humanity. What is this? Demanded the Draxos representative. In the secret mountain facility on Earth, Kate Bishop watched the energy readings stabilize as her team cheered. The shield was holding perfectly, using only 30% of available power. They thought we were just another primitive species to exploit, she said, smiling at Commander Pierce. They were wrong. Back in the council chamber, Jack continued his speech. Today, humanity is walking away from the Galactic Council. We withdraw our membership. We close our borders to council interference. We will make our own path among the stars. The chamber erupted in chaos. Minor species representatives stood and applauded. Dominant species representatives shouted threats and demands. You cannot simply leave. Clothor roared. The penalty for unauthorized withdrawal is orbital bombardment. Jack smiled calmly. You are welcome to try. Your weapons cannot penetrate our shields. Your ships cannot match our new drive systems. The age of your dominance is ending. The Navari representative, long a friend to Earth, stood and addressed the chamber. The Navari people also withdraw from the council. We join with humanity in seeking a more equal partnership among stars. One by one, representatives from other minor species stood and declared their withdrawal. The chamber descended further into chaos as the dominant species realized they were losing control. Jack walked steadily toward the exit, ignoring the shouting behind him. In his ear, President Franklin's voice came through his secure communicator. Well done, Jack. Come home now. On Earth, the President addressed the United Nations in an emergency broadcast carried to every corner of the planet. Fellow citizens of Earth, today we have declared our independence from the Galactic Council. This decision was not made lightly, but it was made with determination and hope for our future. She explained the situation in simple terms: the Council's exploitation, humanity's unique abilities, and the new alliances formed with other species. We are not alone in our desire for freedom. Already, the Navari, the Luthani, and 7 other species have joined us in walking away from Council control. Together, we will form a new kind of interstellar community based on mutual respect. In homes across Earth, people watched with a mixture of fear and pride. Some celebrated in the streets. Others prayed in churches, mosques, and temples. Everyone understood that something profound had changed. The Council enforcement vessels that had been positioned around Earth found themselves unable to penetrate the blue shield. After several failed attempts, they withdrew to a safe distance. General Ramirez monitored the situation from military headquarters. "They're pulling back," she reported to the president. "The shield worked." "And the other worlds?" President Franklin asked. "All reporting successful shield activation. The Council ships are retreating there too." For the first time in thousands of years, the Galactic Council had faced defiance it could not crush. Humanity had not only walked away, they had shown others how to do the same. 6 months after Earth's dramatic departure from the Galactic Council, strange reports began to emerge from Council space. Trading vessels arriving at the newly independent worlds brought news of shortages, system failures, and growing unrest. Lisa Grant, now heading Earth's new Department of Interstellar Relations, reviewed these reports with increasing interest. "It seems our absence is being felt more strongly than they expected," she told President Franklin during their weekly meeting. The president studied the data on her screen. "Explain it to me simply. What's happening to them?" "The Council economy is faltering. 3 major space stations have reported life support problems. Trade routes are being disrupted by system malfunctions, and the 3 dominant species are blaming each other." No one had anticipated how deeply human innovation had integrated into Council operations during their 7 years of membership. Human engineers had been assigned to maintenance crews throughout Council space. Their intuitive problem-solving had become essential to keeping complex systems running efficiently. Now those engineers were gone, and the logical but less adaptable alien technicians struggled to address cascading failures. On the planet Neveri, Earth diplomat Ben Harris met with representatives from 12 former Council worlds. The gathering was held in a garden dome, with various species requiring different atmospheric sections connected by transition chambers. "Earth welcomes this chance to form new trade agreements," Ben announced to the assembled delegates. "We offer fair exchange of resources and technology, with no demands for political control." This was a radical departure from Council practices, where technology was used as a tool of control. The offer was met with enthusiasm by species that had long been treated as second class. In her laboratory, Kate Bishop worked alongside scientists from 3 different worlds. They shared ideas freely, each species contributing their unique perspective. The Lutheni understood material sciences in ways humans never imagined. The Neveri had mastered biological systems. Humans provided the creative connections between seemingly unrelated concepts. Together, they developed technologies that surpassed Council standards. Kate's energy system was now powering settlements on 4 planets, independent of Council infrastructure. "It's amazing what we can accomplish when we work as equals," she said to her alien colleagues. Dr. Ethan Wright made an even more significant breakthrough. Working with mathematicians from the Lutheni, he developed a communication system that bypassed the Council-controlled relay network. For the first time, independent worlds could communicate directly without fear of monitoring or censorship. "We call it the Freedom Net," Ethan explained during its first successful test. "It can't be blocked or tracked by Council technology." This new communication system allowed the growing alliance of independent worlds to coordinate more effectively. Information flowed freely, strengthening ties between former minor species. On Harmony Station, the Council leadership faced a crisis they had never anticipated. The Mavulian representative addressed an emergency session. "Our quarterly resource allocations are down 38%, he reported grimly. "Station maintenance costs have increased by 46%. If this trend continues, we will face critical shortages within 1 standard year." The Zentari elder turned her 4 eyes toward the Draxos delegation. "Your territory includes 3 resource-rich systems. You must increase production quotas." "Our worlds are already at maximum extraction," the Draxos responded angrily. Perhaps if the Mavulians shared more of their energy reserves. The argument escalated, with centuries of carefully hidden tensions suddenly erupting into the open. Without the resources of Earth and the other departed worlds, The dominant species were beginning to turn on each other. In a private meeting after the council session, Clothor spoke with his closest advisors. "We must regain control of the situation. The humans have sparked a rebellion that threatens the foundation of our order. Military action has proven ineffective against their shield technology," one advisor noted. "Then we must try another approach," Clothor decided. "Prepare my ship. I will go to Earth myself and offer new terms." Little did he know that the balance of power had already shifted permanently. The Council's careful system of control was crumbling, and no diplomatic mission could restore it. 2 years had passed since Earth walked away from the Galactic Council. The once mighty organization was now openly fracturing. Reports from across Council space told of growing conflicts and system failures. Jack Harlow stood at the window of his office in the New Earth Diplomatic Center, looking out at the Washington skyline. The city had changed, with alien architecture now blending with human designs. Representatives from 16 independent worlds now maintained embassies there. "Ambassador Harlow, they're here," his assistant said from the doorway. Jack turned and straightened his tie. "Send them in." The door opened, and a familiar 6-limbed figure entered. Clothor looked different now. His luminous skin had dulled, and he moved with less confidence than before. "Ambassador Clothor," Jack greeted him formally. "Welcome to Earth." "Thank you for agreeing to meet with me," Clothor replied. His translator device gave his voice a humbler tone than Jack remembered. They sat at a round table, a deliberate choice to avoid any hierarchy of position. Lissa Grant joined them, along with General Ramirez. "I come with the authority to offer new terms," Clothor began. "The Council recognizes Earth's unique status and is prepared to grant full membership rights, equal voting privileges, no resource quotas." Jack exchanged glances with Lisa. "That's quite a change from your previous position." "Circumstances have evolved," Clothor admitted. "The Council faces challenges that require new approaches." "You mean the Council is falling apart," General Ramirez said bluntly. Clothor's upper limbs twitched in discomfort. "There have been difficulties. Border conflicts between the Mavulians and Draxos," Lisa noted, consulting her datapad. 3 mid-tier council members have withdrawn in the last month alone. The central banking system is showing signs of collapse. "Which is why reunion would benefit all parties," Clothor insisted. "Earth could help stabilize." "You want us to save the system that tried to keep us down," Jack interrupted. "The system that threatened our world when we refused to submit to your demands." In orbit above Earth, a fleet of ships maintained the planet's defense. Commander Alan Pierce monitored the approaching Council vessel from the bridge of the UES Defender. His crew included officers from Earth and 3 other independent worlds. "Keep the shields at full strength," he ordered. "I don't trust them, even on a diplomatic mission." His caution was well-founded. Intelligence gathered through the Freedom Net had revealed Council plans to study Earth's defense systems for weaknesses. This mission was partly sincere desperation and partly a covert operation. In Dr. Wright's laboratory, the latest version of the Freedom Net allowed instant communication across vast distances. Through this system, Earth coordinated with other independent worlds, sharing information and resources without Council interference. "We're detecting unusual activity near the Navari system," one of Ethan's assistants reported. "Council military vessels are gathering." "Alert General Ramirez immediately," Ethan replied. This could be their last desperate move. Back in the diplomatic center, Clothor was growing frustrated with Jack's refusal to consider rejoining the Council. "You don't understand the consequences," the alien insisted. "Without a unified galactic authority, chaos will spread. Trade routes will collapse. Conflicts will escalate. Or perhaps a better system will emerge," Jack suggested. "One not built on exploitation and control." Lisa slid a datapad toward Clothor. "This is our counter-proposal, not to rejoin the Council, but to form something new." Clothor stared at the document, his 4 eyes blinking in sequence. "The Interstellar Cooperative. A true partnership of equals," Jack explained. All member worlds have the same rights. Resource sharing is voluntary, not coerced. Technology is developed cooperatively, not used as leverage. This would mean the end of the Council as we know it, Clotho said quietly. Yes, Jack agreed. It would. General Ramirez received an urgent message and excused herself from the meeting. Outside, she contacted Commander Pierce. Deploy the fleet to Navari, she ordered, but maintain Earth's defenses at maximum strength. This could be a diversion. As Clotho departed Earth with the human counter-proposal, Jack stood again at his office window. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple. Do you think they'll accept it? Lisa asked, joining him. Some will, Jack replied. The ones who see the future. The rest will cling to the past until it crumbles around them. Across the galaxy, word spread through the Freedom Net. Earth had not submitted to the Council's desperate offer. Instead, they had proposed a new way forward, one that promised equality instead of hierarchy, cooperation instead of control. 5 years after Earth walked away from the Galactic Council, the Grand Conference Hall in Geneva was filled with representatives from 42 worlds. The gathering marked the official founding of the Interstellar Cooperative, a new form of galactic alliance built on principles of equality and mutual respect. Allison Moore, the astronomer who had detected the first alien signal a decade earlier, stood at the podium. Life had come full circle in a way she never could have imagined. Welcome, friends from across the stars, she began, looking out at the diverse gathering. Today we make history together. Among the delegates were representatives from all types of worlds, former minor species who had been the first to join Earth in independence, mid-tier council members who had later broken away, and even representatives from 2 of the formerly dominant species who had finally abandoned the failing council. Only the Zentari clung to the old system, refusing to accept the changing reality of galactic politics. Jack Harlow sat in the front row beside Lisa Grant. After years of diplomatic work, seeing the fruits of their efforts filled him with quiet pride. Did you ever think we'd get here? Lisa whispered. Jack smiled. Not when we first stepped onto Harmony Station, but maybe after Kate showed us what we could accomplish on our own. Kate Bishop was there too, along with Dr. Wright and Commander Pierce. Their innovations had become the technological foundation of the new alliance. Kate's energy systems now powered habitats on dozens of worlds. Ethan's Freedom Net had evolved into the cooperative's communication backbone. Alan's defensive technologies ensured the security of member worlds. President Franklin, now in her final year of office, addressed the assembly after Allison. 5 years ago, humanity made a difficult choice. We walked away from a system that demanded our submission. We chose independence over convenience, dignity over security. She paused, looking at the alien faces watching her. What we didn't fully understand then was that our choice would inspire others. That together, we could build something better than what we left behind. The Navari representative spoke next, their translucent body glowing with emotion. For 500 years, my people lived under council rule. We were told this was the natural order, that some species were meant to lead and others to follow. Earth showed us this was a lie. One by one, representatives shared their stories, worlds that had gained freedom, civilizations that had reclaimed their destiny, species that now work together as partners rather than masters and servants. The final speaker was a Mavulian, one of the former dominant species. His 6 limbs moved in the formal pattern of deep respect as he addressed the assembly. My people resisted change until change became inevitable, he admitted. We clung to power until power slipped through our fingers. Now we come to you not as rulers, but as equals seeking a new path forward. After the speeches, the representatives signed the cooperative charter. Each world, regardless of size, technology level, or history, received the same rights and responsibilities in the new alliance. Allison Moore was elected as the first chancellor of the Cooperative Council, with representatives from 6 different species forming her advisory board. As the ceremony ended, Jack walked with Allison through the Geneva Gardens. Chancellor Moore, he said with a smile. Quite a change from tracking radio signals at Arecibo. Allison laughed. I still can't believe it sometimes. When I found that first signal, I was just excited to prove we weren't alone. I never imagined where it would lead. None of us did, Jack replied. The council thought they were bringing a primitive species under control. Instead, they found the catalyst for their own transformation. They stopped at a viewpoint overlooking Lake Geneva. In the distance, ships from various worlds hovered above the city, not in threat, but in friendship. What happened to Harmony Station? Allison asked. It's being repurposed as a cooperative trading hub, Jack explained. Equal access for all member worlds. Later that evening, as the Earth's representatives gathered for a private celebration, Jack raised a glass. To humanity, he said. We walked away from the Galactic Council. Lisa Grant finished the toast with a smile, and the Galactic Council crumbled. Around them, human and alien friends laughed and celebrated together. The stars above no longer represented distant, unreachable points of light, but a community of worlds working together in a new era of cooperation and respect. Earth had found its place in the galaxy, not by conquest or submission, but by the courage to walk its own path and inspire others to do the same.